Hello everyone. Our team is, the team members are Ayawavi, Moulshree,
Ilia,
okay, and our study case is Katanga. It's located in Togo, close to the capital city. As you can see here, it's located on the seashore, so it has a bunch of water. But at the same time, the principal problem is potable water. So their principal activity is fishing. Sorry for being quick, so it's just the background of the project. As you can see on this is Katanga, the women smoking fish, and the kind of habitation they have, and also the housing here. The material they use to smoke the fish. So Katanga has 30K of population, Lome 2.5 million, and the whole country has 7.5 million people. Traditionally, they live by doing fishing. So the main activity is fishing and women smoking the fish. There are many resources in the area, as you saw before. The sea can transform seawater to potable water, but what can we do and implement it for the next 15 years coming? That's what my fellow will tell you.
So the idea is to actually we started with two main ideas. First is about fishing, and the second one is about lichen. But these all are just sitting next underneath of the same umbrella. So these are all talking and communicating about water, and we just focused and targeted the water as the main issue in that area. So in order to respond and meet our goal in this project, we simply started with one single unit. And this one single unit is including two parts which are fundamentally important. So the first part is lichen and the second part is canvas. So why we are using lichen? It's simply because it can contain and hold up to 93% of moisture, and the humidity is so high that if you can find a way and a technology to bring the moisture back to the environment, so you're actually solving a major problem about the water in the region. And why we are using canvas? Because some of the physical features in terms of the materiality that happens in the canvas can create a very flexible workflow for the water to kind of flow down, and because of the friction and surface tension, that was one of the best options for the water to go gradually down. So this is a very simple comparison between three different cities. We have Boston, Salt Lake City, and Lome, which is our location. And by comparing the moisture and humidity in those areas, you can simply say that this is too humid. And based on our research, the area in which you have too much humidity, that's a perfect location for the lichens to grow. And we can just kind of make sure so we have enough capacity for the lichens to grow. So as a result, the triangulation is a system within which the lichens can attach to the panels, and the panels are every other ones are opening up and down, and these were meant to be the solar panels, but we are still working on it and thinking if it's financial wise, if it is better to be solar panels or be just a green roof. But the idea is to have a movable panels and technology that works during the day and night. So it's working based on the light. So with the help of the wind and the evaporation and the sunlight and all these together can create this condition that you can have enough moisture inside of the lichen, and then they're angled and they're tilted, so they start collecting water into the main pipelines in the middle. So some of the very basic wind analysis actually helped us to determine which direction could the panels be facing, and as a result, we can make sure to have enough prevailing wind, which is affecting the panels in order to create that condition for the lichens. So this is a little bit more detailed, but it's telling us a very simple section, telling us what happens when the pipes are working within the panels, and the overlap between the interior and exterior, telling most of the story, what's happening when you want to collect the water and just bring it to someone like cistern inside the house. I would just call this a very diagrammatic drawing. It's not industrial profile. Again, we are trying to reconcile these two ideas. First the lichen, the second one is the fishing, but for the sake of this project, we just focused on lichen, and we are thinking hopefully in the future we can relate it back to the nets and how the material of the nets could be made out of lichen in the future. And these are some of the potential ideas that we have for the future. But for now, our main focus is just on the left side. And this is a more general picture about our overview about the project.
So because lichens become so important for our project, we needed to look into how it is grown. Is it possible to get it or not? So our research showed that lichen has pretty good tolerance for all the seasons, like high cold, humidity, heat or drought. But then why is it so difficult to grow lichen in itself? Because when you just search about lichen, most of the reports say that it is very difficult to grow in lab. So that is another report that showed us was because it was being grown on the fact that it is only made of algae and fungi. But recently it's been found that bacteria and yeasts are also very important for it to grow because it attaches with fungi and algae in presence of the other catalysts. Then, so that means we can maybe grow it. But for the growing part, even though the climate would support it, it is not actually possible to grow it too soon. It takes so much time that it is actually used for dating, like the surface dating and to find out when the climate change started and all that. So we needed to find out the places where we can get lichen from in that area. We looked into the areas, the forests or the green areas where we can get that lichen from in the locality. Fortunately, there are forests which are old enough and which are not that far from Katanga, like 4 miles from Katanga is not that far to be transported. So further, we needed research support to find out what we're thinking is actually feasible or not, how workable it is, and essentially how much water can be extracted from lichen itself. So for the first part, to check the workability, we wanted Waste Institute to help us through their bioprinting project. And for the second part, for the water retention in lichen, we found out that in University of Zurich, Ms. Honinger is actually working on this. After that, once we know how much we are getting from it, we can just correlate it to how much we need. And surprisingly enough, Africa has one of the lowest water consumption in the world, especially the households. The households have lowest, like as compared, 21 as compared to 72 with North America's. And even in Africa's, Togo has one of the lowest rates. So, and UN stated that 50 liters of water per day is required for a person, but in Africa, people are sustaining with as maximum as 20 liters per water. Sorry, 20 liters per day. Next would be from here, we cannot do all this. We need somebody to implement it. And we found out that Africa Rural Water Pro is actually working for them and getting water sanitation and waste management for them. So maybe we can contact them. So for contacting them, we need to understand what are we talking about, which we can hand over to them and maybe let them explore. So my friend Stephen would carry over.
Okay. With the knowledge and the research backup, we started prototyping our concept to the next level. And we took sunlight into consideration because here, Togo is close to the equator, which means that it has the longest daytime and the largest sunlight angle during the year. So it's a good thing because it's easy for us to use solar panel, but we need to consider that the sunlight will not be too strong for lichen to survive. We designed this self-adaptive panel to change the angle according to the sunlight, to make sure that the panel will reach the balance point, that it maximizes the area facing the moisture wind to catch the water. At the same time, it's minimized the sunlight, the direct exposure to the sun. So based on the prototype in the midterm, which is a concept, we did some modification. Basically, we enlarge the surface, which is good to build more like lichen on it, to capture more moisture, and we make it controlled by the motor. And we write some codes to control it, and it works. So I will show the demo later. And with the functional working prototype, we can envision a large picture. So Ilia will introduce more about that.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the context. So we wanted to have a better understanding about how we can relate that to the city behind, how we can kind of correlate those two opposite side neighborhoods. So we started modeling the whole area and a crop view and a crop footprint of that area, and we found that by having multiple of those units, we simply can put the panels on top of the existing houses. And in terms of the change, so it's a minimum amount of change because you're not going to touch the existing condition, and you simply add something on top of them. So the idea is to just have the minimum amount of change. As I said, these are considered as a secondary envelope that can sit on top of the existing condition. And as I mentioned before, we are focusing on two parts of this umbrella, which is fishing and also water for the houses. So we're gonna focus in the future for the fishing in the river and how to help the local need and the local usage. And on the other hand, how to use the inside and interior space and how we can relate those together. And the lichens, based on our experiments and research, they can grow easily in that region. So that's a plus in our research because it's abundant, and we just simply need something that can bring everything together. So the houses, as you can see, these are in different sizes. That's meant to bring this message that it doesn't matter how high is the building or how low, it just simply needs an angled roof to work within that area. And if you look at the architecture, local architecture, everything is angled roof, just except for very few exceptions. So